everyone, Daniela Camboni here. We hope you are enjoying our Outlook 2025 series. As always, I invite you, if you have any questions about the content, about our experts, or how to be best prepared for 2025 and win and thrive, then I highly urge you to reach out to one of my awesome colleagues at ITM Trading. You can do so by booking a Calendly appointment with them. You can find the link in the description below. Pick the time, the date that best suits you, and someone will be able to walk you through a wealth preservation strategy, building one unique to suit what's best for you, your life, your needs. It's an incredible process, and I urge everyone to do that. Was the night before almost Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry almost Christmas. Welcome back to the Daniela Camboni Show here on ITM Trading. And joining me for our holiday special and, of course, our Outlook 2025, Frank Holmes of U.S. Global Investors joins me now. Frank, always good to be with you, my friend.
Ho, ho, ho. It's a great season.
Are you bringing that Santa rally?
I am. Santa's going to be there.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to have you on today. Lots to talk about.
Tag Stranger, I miss you. I haven't seen you for such a long time.
I know, I miss you. Well, this is why I bring you on for the holiday special, one of our most watched episodes. Obviously, we're going to talk gold and we're going to talk Bitcoin. And when I handle both, I bring you on because you've done extremely well in both camps. You've been able to embrace both. But obviously, I want to talk about the new administration, the Trump administration, that is obviously very crypto friendly, and how gold can survive in this new ecosystem. First and foremost, let's start with gold, Frank. Can we officially say gold's had a great year? It made an all-time high.
You know what, Daniela, I was doing an interview the other day, and it was interesting because the interviewer wasn't aware that gold has been up 80% of the time this century, and that gold has outperformed the S&P 500. Like it's been an incredible asset class to have.
They must have been from Bloomberg. I'm kidding.
Well, definitely centralized media.
There you go. It has been an incredible year, obviously, for gold and Bitcoin. The question is, with this Trump administration so pro crypto, what place does that leave for gold here, Frank?
Well, gold has had a real challenge because it's taken decades to get to about 30 billion for BlackRock's ETF, hit 50 some odd billion. Now it's 30 billion. And in something like 9 months, Bitcoin ETF is at 50 billion. I think that it's a new millennial coming into power and having a greater influence in the ecosystem. But what I've, in my journeys is that I believe that gold will maintain and will continue to grow. I believe the gold stocks have performed, but a lot of them haven't. It surprises you. And I was questioning this the other day, and we saw something like $1.8 billion actually leave the GDX redeemed. And that's strange with gold going up. So the gold stocks like the Barracks, et cetera, they've not really performed well because they've got production issues, but the market has been net going out. And some of that money, especially from younger investors, seems to be going into the Bitcoin ETF space. So I think we're in that transition period for gold and gold stocks. But some of the gold stocks that have high free cash flow, like Kenros, they just ripped. They're up 60%. If any company that's been able to show that change in cash flow along with revenue line, they were outperforming gold. But if they haven't, they underperform.
You brought up, BlackRock, and I want to bring up this article from Forbes. So we know the Bitcoin price has doubled since August lows, riding a wave of interest fueled by the Donald Trump's U.S. election victory and U.S. dollar collapse warnings from Tesla's Elon Musk. But now, as Trump confirms he has big plans for Bitcoin, BlackRock has shocked some in the Bitcoin community with a Bitcoin explainer video warning that there's no guarantee Bitcoin's 21 million supply cap won't be changed in the future. Any feelings on that, Frank?
No, no, I just think that someone from a regulatory point of view want to put that in there, because one of the key parts about Bitcoin versus gold is that is capped at 21 million coins. And coming back onto gold, I remember in the 90s, the I Am Golds of the world, Rob McEwen's Gold Corp, they all had free cash flow and they bought gold. They hodled their gold. Gold mining companies don't do that today. And so they're producing 100 million ounces a year that's going into the system and is being absorbed by central banks and family offices and sovereign funds. But I think that they should be, I really believe that 60% of these gold producers have free cash flow. They ought to believe in gold the way the Bitcoin miners do. They
Exactly.
hodl their Bitcoin. But I really think that there's just a transition period. I think that the Bitcoin ecosystem is it's a big wake up call because it's bigger than a lot of people really understood. There's 195 countries. There's 195 central banks. Really strong ones are like about 60 out of the 195 countries in the world. There are 20,000 computer nodes all over the world validating the ecosystem. There's not 20,000 gold traders. There's not 20,000 gold analysts. It's not free and easy to trade all over the world the way Bitcoin has become. And it's happened outside of basically the normal Wall Street world. And now it's coming into it. And I think that it will trade higher.
I think you had some interesting insights. We were talking offline how we see, central banks keep piling into gold. Frank, actually, I have a question before that. Central banks piling into gold, but what do you make of Michael Saylor's challenge that the U.S. should actually sell all its gold and convert it to Bitcoin?
Well, he's very biased and long. He's long $40 billion of Bitcoin. And naturally, that would create a big demand. It would make him the richest guy in America or the world. Like that's the ambition. Brilliant people like Michael Saylor. He's at MIT. He's a
Yeah.
aeronautical engineer.
Yes,
He's a very smart man.
absolutely. Um, Offline we were saying how central banks have been piling into gold, right? We see China's resumed buying, Poland. It's interesting. Central banks are buying gold, yet we're seeing the retail investor has been on the sidelines despite gold being at all time highs. It's almost interesting. What you were saying is that governments hold the gold, but why don't they want the citizens to own it? Or there's a
I
feeling that they don't want them to know the power of gold.
and an interesting data point to complement the thought process is who are the big buyers of gold at Costco? And I read where a disclaimer was saying that it's predominantly Asian professional women
Interesting.
and Indian women that are in the software and the computer science world. Gold has a cultural affinity for them. Every time it sells off, they go buy some gold. And Rick Rule mentioned this probably 15 years ago that he was noticing that in the Bay Area for clients when he was in the brokerage business. But it came out in a Costco, and then same thing with Asian women buying gold at Costco. So it's right now it's really important to recognize the cultural period of what's taking place. But I think that a lot is that the crypto ecosystem grew, and it grew a lot so quickly around the world that we're not aware. But here's something that blew me away. It was 3 weeks ago, and I was in a beautiful place in Switzerland near Lake Como, and there was a conference, and it was amazing. It was called Plan B. And Plan B is a group of Italians. One was the start of the business, was a medical doctor, goes over and the CEO is 40 years old. And they have created Tether. Well, tell me about Tether. I was so fascinated to learn. It has 300 million customers outside of America. And so you ask, like, why? Because outside of America, they want dollars. And the only thing that's really kept Argentina alive has been US dollars in mattresses. There's $25 billion in pillows and mattresses in all through Argentina. What then you start asking more questions on how they've grown. They make more money than BlackRock. They have now $140 billion. They have more US treasuries than Germany. They're 5% of the auctions that take place. And you realize that outside of America, when we're so critical of the US dollar and the government and currency devaluing, what we don't realize is that currencies are actually being devalued faster than what we think the US dollar is being devalued.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that world is that they can own some Bitcoin wealth, and it basically in not Bitcoin itself, but it's a stable coin. It's called a stable coin now. JP Morgan has a stable coin, and so Tether keeps the interest because it's not a money market fund where they pay the interest. Therefore, it's not a security. If it's not a security, the SEC can't basically come in and dictate it. So, but people want to buy it because it has US dollars. 300 million is like the population of America. That's like $4,000 per person. That is grown dramatically. And when I was amazed when they said they do like 100 million in revenue per employee. Nvidia's 3.5 million. Apple is, I think, 2.5 million revenue per employee. This is the most incredibly successful company. They now also are big believers in gold. So there's a Tether gold stablecoin. They have 42 tons of gold. They are producing in Paraguay. When we went down to Paraguay for Hive, there they are, and they are using 50 megawatts in a neighbor of ours, and they have 53,000 Bitcoin. So here's a group of young Italian computer science majors moved to Switzerland, and they build this incredible ecosystem that's all over the world.
Wow.
So something is happening outside of our stock market, gold market world that you and I grew up in that's outside of the realm. But what really tickled me was how much gold they have, and they're big
Yeah.
believers in gold.
If we could go a little deeper there, I mean, this breakaway from the new generations, from the traditional Wall Street model. I mean, obviously, this is a movement, Frank, right?
It is a
That
movement.
that we're seeing. People want to break free from the Wall Street chains.
And what I learned and going into Hive and co-founding Hive, it was interesting because these kids were gamers and they're playing these war games and they're really good at it. Well, if they're really good at it, they would get digital money. And while they got digital money, they could upgrade their computer system. And when they went to bed, they would turn their GPU chips from their into go mine Ethereum. Well, you can't do that today. Stopped 2 years ago, but they used to mine Ethereum, and I had a paper route, but they're mining Ethereum, making a couple $1,000s a year, and they could buy a new computer system. Well, how can they get dollars for that? Because if you're 12 years old, you can't open a bank account, you can't open a brokerage account, but they were able to open up a crypto exchange account.
Yeah.
They were able to go and sell their Ethereum. They were able to find a way to get it to cash. In Europe, they were getting euros. They found a way and they bought a new computer. Oh, what's the number? 30 million kids were doing this around the world.
Yeah.
So they have embraced not the stock market, they have embraced cryptocurrencies as their form of stock market
Right.
because they were to get into the game early. And we've blocked it all. We have blocked the ability for young people to go in to open up a brokerage account and a bank account. So you don't realize this the size of Tether. And why is Tether growing so much? Because so many other countries outside of North America, and particularly the US, have oppressed their citizens. We saw this even in Canada with the
Truckers.
trucker strike. Trudeau turned around and oppressed people and closed their bank accounts. They couldn't buy food. They couldn't pay their mortgages. This is overreach and oppressive. And the government came back and the Supreme Court said it was oppression. It was wrong. So even here, we can get this oppression in North America, but it's been going on for 100 years in Latin America and Africa. It's in the Middle East. So what do they want in Turkey? They want to have US dollars outside of their country. Lebanon's currency has fallen 98%. They want US dollars and they want to be able to move it around. So when I went over to this conference and I went to get my ATM and convert US dollars to Swiss francs, what was the commission? 12%. 12%. And if it was converting on a Tether coin, it would have been 12 basis points. So this is growing outside of the gold world,
Yep.
and I think that they will come together. And I think that like a company I started and I talked about before finally went public here called Matador. And the whole idea of the Matador was to be able to use the Bitcoin network and create what's called ordinals, attach a gram of gold to this piece of art that then could turn around and separate and travel all over the world. Well, it's evolving, and that's what we're going to have. I think the big renaissance for gold is companies like Tether and the ordinals being all of a sudden combine them. There'll be this great crossover. Gold will then ignite at a different level in the crypto realm.
On that note, because I know how much you travel and you love attending conferences, and I love that about you. You never stop learning. And this is an Outlook 2025. Are there, you know, certain red flags, concerns of yours that you're really watching out for that you want to share with our audience today?
Well, I think the big part in the journey of creating Hive, being the first crypto mining company, and being through the attacks by government agencies all over and FUD, they call it, making false and uncertain and doubting statements. We've gone through that, and in that journey, we've only been green. So they really don't care, Bitcoin miners in America, if you're green. They don't care. But it's interesting that Intel reached out and we created our own chip with them because we're green. We're in Canada and we're sourcing hydroelectricity and in Sweden. And we were able to get these NVIDIA chips to mine Ethereum before Ethereum went away and got our money back. But those chips that we were able to secure because we're green only, well, those allowed us to get in the AI business. So now I'm down building data centers for AI. And I'm in downtown Montreal with our chips, and then I'm in Stockholm, and then we're looking at building other data centers. Well, the wind hits my sail because Open Chat GPT comes out. And
Right.
everyone expected this year that it was going to do $1 billion to $1.5 billion in revenue. It's going to do $6 billion. And Elon Musk just electrified 10,000 H100 NVIDIA chips. Well, what does that mean? That's $3.7 billion. I believe that President Trump was able to get this sweep, and not just because of money from Elon, no, because he had access to data mining, to be able
Mm,
to look at data. If you look at Twitter and you look at Reddit and you look at Instagram, you saw Elon Musk and Trump and his daughter and his son, but in particular the daughter, regularly ask you, "What do you think about this?
right.
What do you
Right.
think
Makes a
about
lot of
that?"
sense.
And if you gave a thumbs up or a heart, all that data was being collected.
Right.
And they morphed and they went to protect the middle class and the working class.
Right.
How fast was Donald Trump in a garbage truck? That's
Right.
the working class. How fast versus we're going to go after the rich for the poor and welfare and have open borders. That disenfranchised the middle class in America and the working class.
Makes a lot of
So
sense.
so it was the data mining of AI that allowed President Trump to understand what's happening with Americans. So now we see them asking questions. What do you think of um, uh, Kennedy being head of the FDA? What do you think? So they're asking all the time, and they're talking to the middle class and the working class of what is their pulse before they go out and make a really big bad decision.
Right. Makes a
And
lot of sense.
and that data collection is so powerful. to understand what's going on. And that comes from a phenomenal book written years ago by John Sorowiecki called The Wisdom of Crowds. When you do that, like the stock exchange, you actually are making better decisions. If you just listen to a small group of people, be them be the a small group of warmongers or socialist mongers, it doesn't matter. They are not the pulse of the wisdom of crowds model. And that's what the stock exchange is about, the wisdom of crowd model. Well, now they've created with this data. So I think there's a lot of hope in the first 2 years of taking 100,000 of regulations and running them through and being able to find where they cancel each other, they double and triplicate. They'll synthesize that. I know this from because I took, as you remember, Goldspot was the first AI company to go public for gold exploration, and it was just before COVID. And they
Yep.
were in downtown Montreal, where you are. And it was fascinating to find out why Montreal was a key city in Canada for AI and all these scientists in gold mining. Well, they couldn't really go find the gold faster. What they could do is de-risk the exploration budget. So rather than spending 2 million, 10 million, you only had to spend two. It was just stopping waste of exploration dollars, more effective.
Yep.
Well, now you apply that to go to the regulations in Washington. You can all of a sudden start seeing that there's so many people that are working on doing something that's really not productive. Maybe we can reorientate them to something else or get rid of those regulations. That will unleash entrepreneurialism. That will unleash capitalism in another way. And we can see that in just America, California versus Texas. Well, Texans aren't running to move to California. Californians are moving to come here. I was talking to a person you could outsource your HR to. So if you come from Canada and work for a US corporation, unless you have enough employees, how can you get healthcare and HR and all those parts? Well, there's companies that will do that per state. But if you're in California, you have to
Yep.
get very expensive insurance. You don't have to do that. The same company if you're in Texas.
You were so ahead. You're so ahead of so many things. I remember when you started Gold Spot. How many years ago, Frank? Over 10 years ago. And speaking about Texas, made me think of a lovely couple I met at Rick Rule's conference who tried to convince me to move to Texas, telling me the American dream is alive and well in Texas, Frank.
And just to give you an idea, is that the governor goes to bat. So he entertains that Elon Musk moves to Texas and moving the business. Well, remember the state of Delaware? It's the most
Yep.
famous for having case studies. Well, it was politically manipulated that people bought 100 shares of Tesla to turn around to take away all of his stock. And that was unheard of as what would take place with Delaware, because Delaware has what's called a chancery court. It's an old English system that you have just business judges. All they judge, they have an MBA or a CFA in addition to a law degree or accounting degree. They understand business disputes. So that's what made Delaware so important as a court system. This year, in September, the governor has created a chancery court, and the Supreme Court of Texas has organized 10 judges that have business expertise to adjudicate over business disputes. And they're setting up a stock exchange in Dallas. So, so it is happening in the state of Texas, to complement what you just said.
Yep. Really good thoughts, Frank. Just, I guess, final wishes for our viewers watching. Like I said, it's almost the night before Christmas here. We're closing out the show. Uh, what wishes for our viewers?
Just stay positive and be interested in your grandchildren and your children and what these games are playing, because that's the journey, that they're the ones that are first to explore, not just the negative but the positive of what they're doing. And that's where the Web3 and crypto all came from, young people. And I think that that's what's really important.
Yep.
And the next big date you're going to hear a lot is January the 3rd is coming up, and that's when Bitcoin was released a couple of weeks before President Obama became the president, in 2009. And it's a big day, and it'll dominate all the social media. That's what I forgot about why your site is so important. More and more young people are used to going to sites like yourself, which you offer for commentary, than they are going to Bloomberg or CNBC. And its decentralized sources of media are so valuable to them to get these other insights. And I think that that's only going to grow, and your success is only going to grow.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Frank. Last question. What was on your Christmas list?
Health.
Above all else, you're
Healthy
right. You could
health.
spoil Sarah, your beautiful baby. Not so much a baby anymore. She's grown up, but
And your beautiful twins.
thank you very much. Yes, they definitely will be very spoiled. But health above all else, that is my wish. Wealth and health for all my viewers watching, and to you, Frank. I appreciate it. I'm so grateful for our friendship that has, I don't know how many years now, but I am grateful for it.
Same here. And you look stunning, and you look perfect for the Christmas holidays.
I got all dolled up for you, Frank. Thank you again. Love to all the family, and best wishes to all my.
Go gold.
Go gold. Go gold. Absolutely. Go gold.
Higher.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays, and we will see you very soon. Be sure to stay tuned to the Daniela Cambone Show. Sign up, danielacambone.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's it for me. We'll see you soon.